Yo, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another Steam 2 video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my favorite Solar Warlock build this season. I think it's the perfect time for me to show you guys this build that's all about making ignitions and chaining ignitions together. And that's the main thing that we're going to be going with this weapon. We're going to be trying to make lots of ignitions, and those ignitions can actually trigger more ignitions just back to back to back. We're just constantly going to be applying Scorch to a bunch of enemies, just igniting everything. So if you like builds that are all about making big explosions while still having a ton of survivability, then this is going to be the perfect one for you. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel in case you guys haven't already. Now let's start off by taking a look at the exotics that we're running on this build and how they're going to help us make a ton of ignitions. And we're going to be starting off with our new exotic piece of armor, the Eunoia, the exotic gauntlets. And this is going to improve our helium by making it do increased damage, and also the farther away that it travels, it will fracture into scourging shrapnel. And the scourging shrapnel is going to be very nice for what we're trying to do, which is just apply scorch to as many enemies as we can. But it does have to travel quite a bit before this effect actually takes, effect. And as long as you're this far away, you're constantly going to be applying the scorch stacks onto big groups of enemies. This build 100% succeeds with the more enemies there are, and the beefier the targets are, the more ignitions we're going to be able to chain just back to back to back. Usually, you're not going to be able to get a bunch of them off just because everything's going to die. But if they are a little bit harder enemies, you're constantly going to be able to proc those ignitions and you see explosions over and over again. Now for the exotic weapon that we're going to be using today, it's going to be the Polaris Lance. And this is going to be for a couple of reasons. It's a scout rifle, so we actually have to play a little bit farther back, meaning that we're always going to be a little bit farther away from enemies, which is safer. And it also means that most of the time we're going to be far enough away for our healing to spread into the shrapnel. The Polaris is also going to be able to apply Scorch just on its own with its exotic perk, and it's also a feature weapon this season, so it just straight up does more damage. It's an anti-barrier weapon, and it also pairs up really well with the modern artifact that gives you free radiant for hitting some precision hits. Just 3 or 4 precision hits from the Polaris will immediately give you radiant, so you don't even need another source of radiant. Just with that will be enough to essentially keep up radiant all the time with the Polaris. And even if you lose it, it's very easy to gain it right back, meaning that we're going to be permanently radiant whenever we're playing with the Polaris. Now you can kind of see why I think the Polaris Lance is like the perfect weapon for this build. It just has so many good things going for it. It has to be one of the best weapons this season, and this build definitely builds into that. Now the Catalyst is not something that you need to have to make this build work, but it is nice to have, and it gives you a couple extra explosions, giving you even more ad clear. But those explosions will not be ignitions, so that will not help us towards getting more ignitions. Now for your subclass, we're gonna be on just pure solar, just regular Dawnblade, and for your super you can go with either Song of Flame or Well of Radiance. I tend to like Song of Flame just a lot better in like any activity that's not doing boss DPS. So I just recommend that you go with Song of Flame. You can create a ton of ignitions in your super, which works really well into the build. And you are also unkillable in this super. You have a ridiculous amount of damage resistance that it's gonna take a lot for you to actually die in Song of Flame. Next for your class ability, you wanna go with the Phoenix Dive. It has a shorter cooldown, it heals you very quickly, and it essentially guarantees that our helium is up essentially 100% of the time. We wanna spam this as much as we can every time that we see our helium is about to run out. For your melee, you don't have to go with a specific one, but I do like the Incinerator Snap. With the different fragments that we have, one Incinerator Snap could actually lead just on its own to an ignition on a bigger enemy. So I think to prefer the Incinerator Snap, but if you want to go for full long range play, then you can also go with the Celestial Fire. Both of them are going to be pretty good. And for your grenade, you want to go with the Healing Grenade, and this is going to be the main way that we're going to be getting that initial restoration, and then we're going to be able to extend it with Solar Final Blows, which is what most of our kit is. So that's what lets us have so much restoration, because we just keep extending it indefinitely as long as there's enemies. And we're also going to be getting this back fairly quickly, so if you do lose restoration, you shouldn't really spend too much time without a grenade, so you're ready to activate it again and just constantly keep it going. For your aspects, you want to go with a mix of Touch of Flame plus the Helion. The Helion of course is required for an exotic to actually do anything. And every time that we activate our class ability, it's going to spawn the Solar Buddy that's going to apply with that Scourge and do some pretty good damage thanks to our exotic. And then Torch of Flame is essentially just going to give us those stronger grenades so we can get that ×2 restoration. For the fragments, since this build is all about ignitions, we're going all in on them. The first one is going to be Ember of Ashes, and this means that we apply more Scorch stacks. And this increases our Scorch stacks from any source, from our Helion, from our weapon, from our ignitions. They're all just going to apply more Scorch stacks, which is going to lead to easier ignitions. We're also going to have the Ember of Char. This is going to let our ignitions themselves actually spread Scorch, and this is going to let us do those chain ignitions, especially with the increased stacks that we get from the Ember of Ashes. Now this is not going to work all the time, mainly because the ignitions would usually kill everything by the time the second ignition pops off, but there is a couple of times if you're doing some high-end content where ignitions essentially just keep popping over and over and over again. So the higher the end game activity you're doing, the more ignitions you're probably going to see. Towards the lower end, you probably won't see as many chaining ignitions, but it will still happen with some of those mini bosses, as well as bosses or champions. Next, we're going to have the Ember of Sinjin, and this is what's going to guarantee that we always have our class ability up, so we can keep spamming and have 100% uptime on our Helion. Every time that we scorch something, which is going to be something that we're going to do just all the time, we're going to get some class ability energy. And this, plus like 60 to 50 class ability, will pretty much guarantee that you always have it up. And the final fragment we're going to be running on this build is going to be the Ember of Empyrean, meaning that every time that we get a kill with our solar weapon or ability, it extends the duration of our restoration and also our radiant. And this is the main thing that's going to keep our radiant and our restoration happening. We are going to be extending this constantly. Since our main weapon, it's a solar weapon, so every time we get a kill with it, we extend it. The ignitions also count as ability kills, so that will also extend it. The scorch kills will also extend it. Our melee kills will extend it. We're constantly going to be extending this, so we're always going to have restoration and radiant. And like I said before, even if we lose either of them, we have very easy ways to getting it back. So we're constantly going to be able to have these buffs on us, always keeping us alive or giving us the extra damage. Now for the artifacts and things that you want to go for, of course you want to have your anti-barrier scout rifle. You want rapid precision rifling for more reload speed whenever you get some kills or precision hits. And then you want fever and chill. Now this is a really big one and a very important one because it's going to be a very easy way for us to get radiant just by shooting things with our scout rifle. Rapid precision hits is going to give us radiant, and just hitting 4 hits with our Polaris lance will immediately give us 10 seconds of radiant. And we can just keep proccing this over and over again, and with the thing that we have on our class where it extends our radiant for getting kills, it means that radiant is something we pretty much have all the time on this class, always doing more damage, always making our Polaris lance even stronger. I also recommend that you go with reciprocal draw, especially if you're going to go with a rocket sidearm in your kinetic slot. This is just something that works really well, and it's essentially used extra damage. Next, we're going to have Elemental Daze. This is going to make it so whenever we stun a champion, in our case the barriers, since that's the main thing that we're going to be stunning, it makes a big solar explosion that's going to spread some Scorch. And it essentially translates to a free ignition every time we break a champion's shield. So it's going to be pretty nice, and it's going to add even more explosions to the build. After that, we're going to have Shoulder to Shoulder, and this is going to add some more survivability to the build. Whenever we deal sustained precision damage against combatants, we're going to be getting some damage resistance. Elemental Coalescence is going to let us create some fire sprites, which is going to be pretty good. It just adds a little bit more to the build and more things that we can pick up. And finally, for this final column, we're going to have a combination of Shield Crush and Radiant Shrapnel. Radiant Shrapnel is going to be great for doing more damage and also just supplying you with more Scorch stacks just by hitting something with our Radiant weapon. And since we're always going to be Radiant, this is something that we're always constantly going to be proccing, constantly spreading more Scorch, which leads to more ignitions. And the last one is going to be Shield Crush, and this is going to give us our grenade back faster whenever we have Radiant. It increases our recharge rate, and since we always are going to have Radiant, it's something that's always going to be on, so every time that we want to use our grenade, we're probably going to have it. Whenever you pick up a fire sprite, you're going to get even more damage on your Polaris, meaning that it's even more powerful. Both of these last perks are going to work pretty well, so just pick the one that you like the most. Now for the other weapons you want to pair up with your Polaris, you don't really have to pair up anything specific, but a rocket sidearm in the kinetic slot or the main retrograde are both going to work great. Both of those weapons are fantastic, and you should definitely be using them. And then for the heavy, it can really just be whatever you want. It can be something that scorches as well, something like a machine gun, or it can just be something else that does good damage for whenever you need it against some of the bosses. And I think that's really one of the advantages of this build. It means that anyone can make it work and anyone will be able to do this. So the first thing you always want to do with this build is activate your Phoenix Dive so you can have your Helion. The Helion is very important, so you want to have it up as much as you can. So as long as you see that your class ability is up, use it to refresh the Helion cooldown so you can keep doing damage and spreading Scorch. After you do that, you can throw your Healing Grenade on the ground and then you start shooting things with your Polaris. And as long as you're getting kills through your Polaris, or your Helion is getting kills, or your Ignition is getting kills, as long as you're getting kills of any kind that are solar related, you're going to be extending that Restoration and also that Radiant. And while you have the Radiant, you're also going to be building up your grenade energy back up, so if you do lose the Restoration, you can just throw another grenade down and just keep it going. So you're constantly going to be healing, you're constantly going to have the extra damage, and you're going to be seeing lots and lots of big explosions, since we also apply more Scorch with just everything we do. So those ignitions are just constantly going to be going off, blowing everything up. And if you're playing some more of that in-game content where things aren't just dying immediately with one explosion, you're definitely going to be seeing some of those ignition chains, just a bunch of ignitions going off back to back to back. And it's going to be beautiful. Now for the stats you want to focus on this build, you're going to go with Super, some Grenade, and also a bit of class ability. So, like always, we're going to have the damn link to this build in the comments below in case you guys want to auto-equip it and just give it a go. And all the gameplay you've been seeing in the background is Grandmaster gameplay. So if you guys have been wondering why these things are so goddamn tanky, it's because it's Grandmaster. And I was like 40 levels under when I was recording this, just so I could show off, you know, how the ignitions, how the Polaris would perform in a environment like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, hopefully you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care everyone, have a good rest of your day, peace.